a girl seen as a weakling in the pack, have become the only female candidate in the selection, faced with powerful male competitors. My heart is filled with anxiety and anticipation. Chapter 5. The siren that concludes my explanation of the selection process. Any questions? The secretary asked politely, as they arrived in front of the room the academy had prepared for Celia. Only one. I somewhat know of the process prior to the admission in the Watcher course, as I have studied it in the past, though I was aware that even last year, the exams only happened after 6 months of training. Why was the exam pushed forward this year, without allowing the participants to have the preliminary training? She did not really care if the exam moved forward. She had secretly prepared for it for a long time already. Most of her free time was used for this purpose. She was just curious to know the reason. I was not informed what the exact reason was, but from my understanding it could be because of the housing. The academy is quite large, but it is not only used for watchers, pack doctors, that is, Gamma S and other warriors also learn here. This year, the requests for the Watcher course were many. Normally, there are only about 3 or more people, considering that there are only 3 Watcher posts each year. But this year there are 10 posts available, hence the rise in the requests. This is also why the exam is taking place now before normal classes for the other courses begin. It would normally be held in autumn, not in the summer. So, when the other students arrive, there will not be enough rooms for everyone. The secretary was a professional. She answered the question without mockery or haughtiness. Celia could see that she did not look down at her for being the only female candidate, and for this she was grateful. Thank you for the information. I will be all right from here on out. Also, I am sorry for taking so much of your time. It is all right. This is my duty, briefly replied the secretary, and for the first time smiled. As the secretary had already accomplished her duty, Celia bid goodbye to her. Before she started to arrange her clothes and check her room, it was not luxurious per se, but everything in it seemed brand new. She already knew the king put a lot of effort in education and personally oversaw the management and the budget. He even came each year for inspection. Being away from her pack, she had thought she would feel somewhat sad, but she felt more at home here than in her pack territory, which was strange to say the least. The people she met so far, who were only 3 in number, seemed far warmer than any of her pack members, with her family included. Beside her brother, even the room prepared for her felt more comfortable than the room she had at home. Another plus to being away from her pack was that since she arrived at the airport, or perhaps even earlier than that, she did not experience the pain that haunted her these past few days. Not even a little bit of the pain that had previously affected her repeatedly each day hurt her since she left pack border, and she was away for more than 24 hours already. By now it should have already started, if it were to follow the pattern from before. The alarm she set on her phone went off half an hour before dinner, just as she finished organizing her things in the wardrobe and bathroom. Feeling quite hungry, she took a quick shower, changed into fresh clothes, and hurriedly exited her room. She found her way easily, following the maps on the hallways which pointed to the various rooms there were, and soon enough found the common room. Taking a deep breath, as she stood outside the door, she shakily put her hand on the doorknob. So far on her way here she did not see anyone, but inside there must surely be other people who came to eat. She was bold enough to come to the selection, but she was not a people person, and it was difficult for her to interact with other people, even for a normal small talk. She was even more frightened of gathering attention, for most likely being the only female candidate. Just as a hand tightened on the doorknob, twisting it, having collected herself, the door was briskly opened from the inside. Her inattentiveness, coupled with her nervousness, caused her to lose her focus for a moment, making her unable to react in time and step aside. Thus the door knocked her head a little. The person on the other side froze, as he realized what he had done, and opened the door slowly this time, looking for the person he hit. Spotting the lowered head which had a small delicate hand rubbing it, he immediately apologized sincerely. "I am so sorry. I should have opened it more slowly. I did not see you." He wanted to say something more, when the small head rose, causing any words he still wanted to speak in guilt to remain unsaid. He initially thought it was another man, a candidate like him, as the person in front of him had her hair in a ponytail, and he did not see how long it was. Plus, there were only males in the building, with the exceptions of 3 secretaries who were easily distinguishable in their professional suits. But seeing her fair, delicate face, he was shocked. He had never seen such a beautiful girl before. She was tall, almost as tall as him, but her face was small. Her chocolate eyes were beautiful and her skin was flawless. It glowed even though she had absolutely no makeup on. Even the t-shirt and the pair of jeans she had on, which were nothing special, did not diminish her beauty. "It's all right. I also did not pay attention," she replied sincerely and wanted to pass by him to get inside. But even though her intentions of walking through the door were clear enough, the man stood frozen, though she had no choice but to speak again. I am sorry, but do you mind if I enter?" More like whispered, finally processing her words in his head. He realized his rudeness and hearing her voice, which was as beautiful as her appearance, hurriedly replied, "Oh, I am sorry. I am being rude." Sure, he immediately made room for her to enter, but he seemed to have forgotten that he wanted to exit initially, and quickly followed her inside. "I am Jake. Might I ask who you are?" he asked, smiling, as he sat in front of her at one of the tables you found closer to the door. "To my agent extraordinaire, Webnovel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "S'il vous plaît," she replied, suppressing the stutter, then remained silent. She felt awkward because the man was showing no intentions whatsoever of leaving the table she had chosen, despite her apparent lack of enthusiasm, but she felt unable to ask him upfront to leave. "Well, Celia, are you one of the secretaries that are showing the candidates around? I've been here for a few days, and have not seen you around the area." Considering how big the academy was, it was quite normal to not have met her before even if he had been here for a week already, but he did not know how to start the conversation otherwise. "I arrived today for the selection. I am not one of the secretaries," she replied without a change in her expression. As always, she could not read her face, though inside her mind she felt a bit bewildered about the familiarity he was showing. He had directly started to speak on first-name basis with her, without asking for permission first. "For the selection? You mean the Watchers selection? Is one of your relatives taking the exam?" Jack curiously, hoping she would not reply boyfriend or husband. "No, not one of my relatives. I am the one taking part in the exam," she said without other explanations. It was her dream to become a watcher, so she should bravely tell it without fear of ridicule from other people's part. And beside, on the next Monday, the truth would also be found out by the rest of the candidates. He froze again, like how he had stilled in place seeing her face, as did most of the men who were spread around in the common room, at the various place tables. Everyone's eyes were on her since she first walked in, and as they were the best-ranked werewolves, their hearing was higher than normal ranked ones, so they had been listening to each word she had said. "Oh, that I am pleased to meet you, fellow classmate." Contrary to her thoughts and fears, the man had no mocking expression on his face. In fact, the only change in his visit had been his initial bewilderment, before breaking into a bright smile, as he extended his hand towards her. In reality, Jake had various more questions inside his head. Questions most of the men present in the room had also wanted to hear the answers to. But he was afraid to sound rude if he asked what a girl was doing at the selection of Watchers. "To my agent extraordinaire, Webnovel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." If he became her friend, in time he could find out more. Asking her too many questions now, and she might avoid him later. He was not sure if he could pass all the exams, but she did not strike him as someone who would take the Watcher exam on a whim. He was a handsome man, with quite a few conquests of beautiful women in the past, and his clothes and appearance screamed money, but she was not trying to hold a conversation or even look at him much for that matter. Her presence at the academy was truly for the sake of the future selection. He reckoned that if he left, she would not even bother to give him another glance, let alone try to stop him. It was the first time a girl was not charmed by him. "Nice to meet you," Celia replied briskly and only slightly held his hand, her palm barely touching his. Her expression still did not appear to change at his welcoming words, but she truly felt relieved inside her head. It appeared he was a guy she could easily get along with, despite her initial impression of frivolousness that she assumed dominated his character. Happy she did not brush him off completely, he finally asked permission to join her for dinner, and receiving it, they ate together. She only mostly answered his questions, not asking any of her own, and he could only feel some interest and replies more eager from her when he talked about details concerning the exams. But he was still satisfied. He learned she was truly interested in taking the exam, as her eyes shined each time the subject was mentioned, sighing in relief. As he found a common subject to discuss with her, he tried to keep the conversation alive using this subject throughout the dinner. Most of the next few days she spent in her room, as she felt like the other candidates were watching her intently. Each time she walked out of it, and she did not understand why. Was she really unusual looking? Or did it bother them that a girl was taking the exam with them? Sometimes, she would even look at her phone screen, using it as a mirror, thinking that maybe something was on her face. But every time she checked, she never saw anything out of place. The feeling she got from them was like they were watching her, wanting to say something, but did not dare approach her. So awkward under their gaze, she stayed mostly inside, and only went out for the meals which she had accompanied by Jake, who coincidentally or not, sat at her table every time. She was not used to men, but he was not very intrusive and mostly talked with her about the exams, which piqued her interest. His information regarding the selection was even more extensive than hers, so their discussions were quite informative. Soon enough Monday came and it was time for the first test. The test was to be taken in alphabetical order and, as her name was Blair, she was among the first to undergo it. As the secretary previously explained to her, the first test was the seer test, of which she still had doubts on how it would go, but her fear was slightly diminished, if only for the fact that the teacher in charge of the test would be the only person aware of her power. She was not sure of how powerful she really was, but she did not want other people to know her secret or the fact that she shifted so young. She had never in her life been tested by the seer, as it was normally not done, unless one asked for the testing expressly. She knew her sister had went to the doctor on the second day after she shifted, eager to find out just how powerful she was, and had told her mother she was a 5th-rank werewolf. It was news celebrated by all the members of her family, as it confirmed she was lunar material. All the candidates that were scheduled to be tested on the first day numbered about 150 people out of the 1,000 or more werewolves. Jake was also near her, as his last name was Black. Until the teacher in charge came in the amphitheater, all the examinees were still chatting and murmuring amongst themselves, but they all went silent when he stood in the center of the room and started to explain the test. "Hello. My name is Gabriel Collins and I will be the teacher in charge of your general education for those who will pass the acceptance test. For today I will be examining your wolf and its power using the seer. For those of you who do not know exactly what the seer does, please listen to my explanations. Those who know what it does, please stay quiet, as you are all obligated to listen anyway, like it or not," he informed them, smiling. It was good that he was the first teacher. His age looked like it was not too far from theirs. Coupled with his joking manner, it made all the candidates relax and even laugh. It lessened the tense atmosphere present in the huge room. Now then, the seer has been used since ancient times to display the information for those who touch it and release some of their wolf's aura. The information it will show are the following 3 things. First is rank. The rank of wolf extends from rank 1 to 10. 1 being the highest rank a wolf can achieve and 10 the lowest. There are also werewolves with wolves that, unfortunately, cannot be ranked. They are the Ongazer who do not possess the strength necessary to power up the seer to check their rank. Regrettably, their aura is too weak to even start it up. Now then for the ranks. We have Rank 10 are normal pack wolves and worker wolves. Rank 8 and 9 are tracker and warrior wolves. Rank 7 are delta wolves. Rank 6 are gamma wolves. Rank 5 are beta wolves. Lunars of a pack also hold this rank. Although we are all guys here, so it does not concern the following test. He trailed off, chuckling, but his small smile froze when his eyes met Celia's. Chapter 6. One person to wolves. Only then did Gabriel remember there was actually also a female candidate this year. Realizing his blunder, he coughed to hide his awkwardness at the oversight, and continued explaining. Usually candidates would laugh at this joke every year, but this year no one laughed. Who would? When somehow she seemed to fit right in there with them. From time to time, since she arrived at the dormitory, most of the guys' eyes would trail off to the only female candidate. She was beautiful, quiet, and she looked quite frail on the outside, like she would break if you were to hug her just a little bit tighter. But even so, her aura felt powerful. Strangely, she also did not submit when she passed by them, as weaker werewolves did when higher-ranked ones would walk near them. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. As the power exuded by most of them was in the rank of alpha and beta categories, they were used to having ladies fawn over them. But she was different. Other than the meal times, you would hardly ever see her, which they felt was unfortunate. Not to mention, most wanted to court her. Why would they want to laugh and ruin their chances? Rank 4 wolves are normal alphas. Rank 3 wolves are stronger alphas. This is also the rank we expect Watchers to have. Rank 2 wolves are the members of the council. Rank 1, also named one-man rank, is held by only one alpha. The alpha of all the packs together. Our king, please do not feel disheartened as you see your rank. For those who do not know already what your rank actually is, you should not feel it as weak, no matter what I would inform you. Every rank, in fact, has also 10 sub-ranks. To understand it better, it means that if you hold the 5th rank, then you are 10 times stronger than the 6th rank. Or if you hold the 5th rank sub-rank 5 times stronger than the 6th rank sub-ranks Aero. As a side note, all the teachers you have are as powerful as Watchers. That means each of us hold the 3rd rank, but with a lot of experience in fighting added to it. Please keep this in mind. If you try to argue with one of us, Gabriel explained eloquently, trying to maintain a proper teacher stance. He needed to regain his lost prestige. The crowd was confused. They knew about ranks, but not about sub-ranks. Teacher, we have never heard about sub-ranks. Dare to say one of the candidates unable to abstain his curiosity at the finding. Well, this is possible. The seer the pack doctor uses cannot identify sub-ranks, and the pack doctors also cannot recognize them. I think I should be the only one with this ability, Gabriel stated with a normal voice, but a proud undertone could still be sensed. Can I ask another question? Asked the same person, and receiving permission, proceeded. Why is the 1st rank named one-man rank? Intrigued inquired the young man, confused, as each rank was held by more werewolves than one. Are there more kings for our kind? Gabriel replied with another question, smiling as he looked from left to right in the room. Then, after a few moments of silence, explained further, only one person holds this rank each generation, and that is our king. Hits the name one-man rank. All the other ranks are held by more people. His rank is also the rank without sub-ranks, because the difference of power between rank 1 and rank 2 is 100. That means it would take 1 people holding the 2nd rank to attack and kill our current king. They all quieted down stunned, before small murmurs erupted at various places. They knew their king was powerful, but they never knew just how powerful he truly was. So the revelation made their heart fill with deep admiration. All right, settle down and let's continue. The second thing the seer will show is your warfare, and it will do so without you needing to actually shift. It can also compare it with other wolves and even let me know if your wolf has other talents, other than the normal ones that each wolf has. What I mean is it will show just how fast the wolf can regenerate, how strong it is and how big it is. As for the special abilities, it will show if your wolf has affinities with the elements of earth, wind, water and fire. The third thing the seer can show is whatever health problems you have. This is the ability pack doctors mostly use for medical care and diagnosis. But, as I am not checking your health, I will only be focusing on the first two things I explained. Now, gentlemen and lady, in alphabetical order, please step one by one as you are called in the conference room, where you will be analyzed. Another two things I should mention are, first, do not worry as the room is under a spell so no information will leak out. Second, I am sure you have been explained by your guide when you first arrived. I am under a curse and cannot divulge anything I find out from your analysis. The only thing that will be displayed to the public will be the fact that you are accepted or rejected. To be accepted, you have to be at least rank 4-5. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Ideal for us is rank 3, but we will at least let you pass to the further tests. If you have these ranks, the tests were carried out for about 1 hour, until it was finally Celia's turn. Dyke had already been tested, and he did not mind sharing his rank with her, as he was a 3rd rank werewolf. He might have actually wanted to boast about it in front of her, hearing her name called, and then stepping in front of the door of the conference room where the teacher was testing. Celia sighed heavily as she put her hand on the doorknob, trembling, and slowly pushed it to open the door. The room was quite big and well lit, even if there were massive dark-colored drapes covering the windows to ensure more privacy. She nervously approached the teacher, and timidly sat in front of his desk where the orb was placed. For now the seer was a dark, almost black color. Well then, Miss Celia Blair, please place your hand on top of the orb and release your, or just like you do when you go to your PAX doctor. Gabriel explained politely. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I am sorry, teacher. I have never been tested before. Can you explain further? She asked with a small voice. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Think about your wolf, but not like when you want to shift in, you push your wolf to the front side of your mind, and your human consciousness takes the back seat, going to the place where your wolf usually is. In other words, you do not need to switch places with one another for the test. Try to visualize your mind like it is a wide room, with your wolf occupying one half, and you the other. What both of you must do is step towards each other and meet at the center of this room. You are meeting halfway. Do you understand? Or should I explain a bit more? Gabriel detailed further, with the same previous politeness. It was his job to help the students with the test. Moreover, with a girl he felt he should act a bit more gentlemanly, if only to cover for his previous gaffe. I understand. Thank you. I will try. But can I ask you 2 more things first? I am sorry for keeping your time, Celia said apologetically. There were more students that would get tested after her, so she felt sorry for keeping the teacher's time a bit longer because of her questions. Yes, of course. Please ask. He smiled gently, reassuring her. First thing is, I understand you have to tell the council and His Highness the rank of the wolf you test. Does it mean you will say it in any situation, or only if they ask? Usually, only if they ask. The council does not have the time to check all the information I see. They only get the list with the accepted werewolves, and His Highness has even less time to check such things. And the second question, he didn't understand her point in the question she asked, but still replied seriously. The second is, how do you meet halfway when there are 3 of you? She asked slowly, almost whispering. Gabriel looked puzzled at her, with his eyebrows frowned in confusion. To see him like this made Celia a little wary, since she saw him in the morning. He only laughed and joked. It was the first time she saw his serious side. What do you mean 3? There is only 2 of you. 1 wolf, 1 person. 1 + 1 = 2. Gabriel stated, not understanding where she was going with her question. What I mean is, how can I meet halfway with 1 person and 2 wolves? 1 + 2 = 3. Celia explained further, making Gabriel even more confused. 2 wolves. There cannot be a person and 2 wolves. He stood silent for a moment, trying to see if she was joking, but Celia's beautiful face did not sketch the minimum of emotions. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Try to get one of your wolves to come forward and meet halfway while placing your hand on the seer. We will test again with the other wolf after. He directed her simply. 1 wolf for 2 wolves. If it was a lie or the truth, he would check it anyway for himself in a moment. And if she was saying the truth, he could get explanations afterwards. She did as told, getting Crescent to meet with her halfway. A black aura surrounded her hand where the orb was touched, and as he looked at the glowing crystal, he saw her rank. It was the 4th rank. Not a bad rank at all, considering most girls went only to the 5th rank. The lunar-ranked werewolves were 5th rank, or the weaker packs. They were even 6th rank. But her rank, even if it was better than a lunar's, did not mean was good enough for the Watcher position. They allowed the 4th rank werewolves to continue being tested because the candidates could make further improvements. But to raise your rank was very difficult, if not nearly impossible. And this time, there were also more candidates than usual. If they found at least 10 candidates with the 3rd rank, then those with 4th rank and more would be eliminated by default. Gabriel also checked her wolf's appearance, as in the orb a grey wolf with tings of black appeared. She was as big as a usual alpha, but what surprised him more were the different lights surrounding it. The light that would surround a wolf only appeared around the wolves with talents for the elements. Red light was fire, grey light was wind, blue light was water, and brown light was earth. She was surrounded by red and blue light, fire and water, complete opposite powers. Usually, wolves with contradicting talents could be used to overpower one another. They were each other's weaknesses. But what weakness would a wolf with both elements hold? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Your wolf is 4th rank with talent for fire and water. Now take your hand off and place it again while thinking about the other wolf, Gabriel said, as he wrote his findings on a piece of paper, but not in her official document. He thought there was no other wolf. Perhaps she felt like there were 2 wolves because of the 2 different kind of elements, but their king put emphasis on respect, and this meant they allowed everyone to get tested, even if the person seemed no stronger than Omega, so they would give everyone the benefit of doubt. She did as he instructed, and thought about waning. This time, a pure white light surrounded her hand. Seeing the change in color that would also be impossible for a werewolf, Gabriel frowned, paying more attention to the orb. Then, as the seer displayed the various information, he quickly checked her rank, already stunned by the changed appearance of the wolf reflected. He looked again and again, and did not know what to be more confused about. Should he be worried that her wolf was another, as the rank displayed indeed changed? Or should he be worried about the fact that the 1st rank, the rank of the king, could no longer be named one-man rank? Chapter 7. Double-ranked werewolf, all right. Now this was weird, she thought. The teacher, who only smiled and was in a good mood while he explained the test, now kept frowning seeing her information. Even after a few moments had passed, he did not say a thing, as his face looked more and more taken aback with each elapsed second. Her heart started pounding in her chest. Was there truly a problem with her? Did she make a mistake coming here? She avoided for so long getting tested, fearing the abnormal of her situation, and she walked on her own accord in the lion's den in the end. But she could not help it. She truly wished to become a Watcher. It was her most fervent goal. She wished it so much that she did not even second-guess her mother's words. so much so that she even dared to get tested, under the probing gazes of others for being the only female, leaving aside the fact that there were two wolf consciousness inside her mind, which had already stunned the teacher into silence. After checking waning, the teacher frowned even more. Had she known that the procedure of the testing involved each wolf at a time, and they would only see the information display for the one wolf she wished to get tested, she would have hidden Waning's existence. As she had always known that Waning seemed stronger than Crescent, she had kept her hidden all these years, and even avoided shifting into her form because she knew that once she transformed, Waning's aura would barely be suppressed. The clear evidence of this being that, when she shifted for the very first time, she changed into Waning's wolf form during the second time she felt her bones crack and rearrange themselves, causing a huge commotion, even though during her first change, when she shifted into Crescent's form, nothing in particular happened. She still remembered how the trackers kept rumbling in the forest, howling and growing, as they searched for the intruder that was trying to oppose their alpha. It was not her intention to release the threatening aura, to defy the leadership. The problem was that regrettably this was what her shift was seen as, a challenge for the leader's position, being faster than them. Fortunately, they did not manage to catch a glimpse of her before she ran and hid in an inconspicuous place to change back to her human form. That time, the three decided that they would only change into Crescent's form because, even though Crescent was also as strong as a regular alpha, with Crescent's and Waning's power combined it was easier to suppress her aura. Each time she shifted, no one could detect her wolf in the forest. Waning never complained because of this reason. She never protested she had to be suppressed. She assured Sia that if the latter assumed Crescent's form to run in the woods, the shift would bring comfort for her also. Coming here for the test, Celia reckoned that she was just as strong as a Watcher, so it would not be strange for her to finally shift into Waning's form as well, surrounded by so many alpha-ranked werewolves. In an academy where higher-ranked werewolves were seen as the norm, Waning's form would be no different than the others, so shifting into her form wouldn't be seen as challenging their power and position. Her second wish besides being a Watcher had been to let Waning run free, without anyone feeling threatened by her power. But now she had a gut feeling this wish would still be impossible to accomplish. After the teacher's initial silence that felt like a lifetime, now he kept mumbling to himself, it can't be. One man rank. It can't be. His quick change in mood as he went from silent to pale to amazed had been to weird, to say the least. So she wanted to ask him what the problem was, but being afraid of his reaction, she stayed silent, waiting for him to speak first. Awkwardly retracting her hand from the seer, she suppressed Waning's aura. As she waited for the results, what was done could not be undone. Unfortunately, they stayed like this for a few more minutes, neither of them daring to look at the other, until Gabriel managed to regain his composure and with a hoarse voice finally spoke. "I am sorry, but your rank is impossible. Although I do not think the seer is wrong. It has never been wrong. Not to mention, His Highness has also used it to check his power regularly, and at the same time to check the fee has maintained its efficiency, so its readings has always been flawless. It is never wrong. It has been used for hundreds of years for thousands of werewolves. It can't be wrong. It just can't." He blabbered his words, the earlier eloquence he had displayed in the amphitheater nowhere in sight. "What exactly is the problem?" Celia asked, still trying to maintain her composure, though his repeated use of the words "it can't be wrong" had her a little worried. In an attempt to regain his composure, and spoke more fluently this time. He was still a teacher and a high-ranking official. If he would lose his composure so easily, what would others think of him? "The seer has checked your wolf's power. It is rank 1. That is to say, the same rank as our current king's," he replied with an inquisitive tone. Had she known her strength already? Was this why she had avoided being tested before? Her eyes widened at the revelation, one she would not have imagined even 1,000 years. Waning was this strong. Why? Her genuine expression was a clear indication that it was news to her as well. But you said that rank 1 is only held by His Highness. Oh, can my rank also be the same? She said, stuttering. After a few seconds of silence, as she tried to understand his words. That is why, I said, it is impossible. I have to notify His Highness and the Council of this. As soon as possible. We must know the reason your rank is so high. I should call them now. Gabriel stated, flustered, searching with his eyes for the phone. Teacher, you assured me earlier that you will only notify them if one is accepted or rejected. Please do not tell them what you found out. All I want is to be a watcher. Nothing more. I do not want to be a guinea pig. I do not want further tests. Done. All my life I have lived for others. I just want to be free doing what I want. Celia spoke with a trembling voice. She had never spoken so much at once before, but now she was trying to the best of her abilities to get her opinion heard. I am sorry. I did say that. But for your circumstances, I have to. I have no choice but to let them know. Gabriel apologized, as his eyes finally found the phone, and he had already lifted it from his desk. I do not allow it. Do as Celia said. Put the phone down now. He was in the process of dialing his phone, when the sound of a higher-ranked wolf boomed inside the room. It instantly froze him, stopping his body just as he was about to press dial. Being the only two people in the room, Gabriel realized the commanding voice came from none other than her strength wolf. Waning. It was a superior alpha's power. Much like His Highness's wolf. When her wolf roared, all were obliged to listen, so he could only bow obediently, showing his neck in submission as he reflexively put the phone down. It had been the first time a candidate wolf made him submit. His rank was only below the werewolves that made up the council. Nonetheless, he was easily made to do her bidding. You will declare our rank as being third. You will not speak of Sia having to wolves, and you will not check my abilities further. Do not test me, pup. The clear and imposing voice continued, ordering unbothered. Pup. He was called a pup. He would have laughed if it was in another situation, but the beauty before him could not be offended. Yes, as you command, was the reply his body instinctively gave, regardless of his free will. As Waning retracted her suffocating aura, only then did Gabriel sit upright again, just in time to see Celia's black eyes turn to their normal chocolate color. I am sorry. She is not usually willful. She only does whatever I ask of her normally. It was not my intention to command you. She has never used this voice on anyone before, Celia exclaimed apologetically, as she regained control of her body. She could not deny inside her mind that she approved Waning's actions, but it was still awkward to face the teacher. She had actually commanded a famous werewolf that she had heard stuff of legends about, a person in direct subordination to the king of werewolves, and Waning had even called him a pup. Well, she's your wolf. She will act on her own, if she feels your safety is threatened, Gabriel stated helplessly, and sighed as he continued. Fine. I promise I will not say anything. Well, I cannot say it, even if I want to. The command of a higher-ranked wolf can only be retracted by said wolf or another high-ranking one. So unless His Highness asks me expressly if you have to wolves, or your exact rankings, I will not divulge them. Thank you, she said, finally relieved her secret would be kept hidden. There is no need for thanks. Really no need, he thought to himself. He did not do it on his own accord, after all. Can I ask, how exactly do you have to wolves? Gabriel curiously inquired. I do not know how or why. When I shifted for the first time, at the age of 13, I felt the change of my body happening to times, and as a result I gained 2 wolves. But why such a thing happened to me, I have no way of finding out. My grey wolf, Crescent, also does not know the reason, and Waning keeps herself suppressed most of the times, as her aura could easily be detected. Unless she stays hidden deep within my mind. She does not interact with me often because of this reason, only if she deems I need her help. But I did ask her once if she knew the reason, and she did not say anything, so I will not ask again. She will choose herself, whether to tell me or not, Celia explained honestly. Perhaps we will learn in time. We will be seeing each other more anyway in the future. In classes and during your watcher duties. We will talk further, if we find out more. Gabriel resigned stated. I have not taken all the exams to be a watcher yet, so. She tried to express her worry, but did not manage to speak further, because he interrupted her. A first-ranked werewolf. And you worry about not passing the exams. Gabriel finally laughed, resuming his usual carefree face from before she was tested. Do not worry. We will see each other in the future. Please tell the next candidate to wait 10 minutes before entering. I may not look like it, but I need a break, he continued to say, finally gesturing for Celia to take her leave. She nodded and exited the room. Once alone, Gabriel slumped on his chair, a little drained from the previous aura and tension. Oh, how he wished he could tell his good friend Celia's rank. She could possibly be Solaz's mate. He was already 1 year old. But he still had not found her. Surely the king of all werewolves would be the only befitting of a female mate of her rank. If she was not his mate, then no other werewolf could be. With this in mind, he checked her file again. She was 22 years old and had never left her pack's territory. His friend had checked the packs for more than 50 years searching for his mate, which he unfortunately never found, after 50 years of constant searching, and closed his heart to even the prospect of having another werewolf as his mate and queen, other than his rightful mate. He was already 100 years old. Normally, werewolves had a minimum life expectancy of 2 years. Solaz, as a high-ranking werewolf, had an even longer life, but who could say for certain exactly how long his life would be? It had made even the council worry, as he reached his current age, and still had no heir to the throne. What if the reason for not finding his mate was that she had not been born yet? He gave up the search before her birth, and her Celia Blair was never checked. He sighed again. Well, anyway, His Highness made constant inspections to the academy, and even if not, as he had already checked it this year, he could possibly still come for the start of the courses in autumn. It would be 3 months later, but he had already waited for so long. What was 3 months more? And with his abilities he could probably smell her, if he even came near the gates. It was not necessary to actually see her face, to check if she was his mate, so in due time they would find each other. 3 weeks had passed since the SEER test. Seeing her pass it, the other candidates gained another level of respect towards Celia. Out of the 10 people or more that first signed up for the exam, only about 3 remained. Just after the first test, they were the ones ranked 3rd and 4th. The IQ test and the liberal discussion test diminished the number even more. So for the melee combat only 1 candidate remained. Celia was between the remaining candidates, and she was actually placed first for the 2nd and 3rd test. The first test was confidential, so no one knew her ranking, but she was at the very least a 4th rank. During this time she kept mostly to herself as always, but in the eyes of the other candidates it felt like she bloomed further, like she looked even more beautiful than when she first arrived. At the beginning she felt more introvert and not easily approachable, but now as she was more certain of herself and she also felt more at ease in their presence, they could even greet her when they passed by, and each time she would respond. These facts seemed to add to her attractiveness. She seemed even more charming than the first day they saw her. During her time at the academy, Celia had called her family only once. Not that they called her also. Only her brother messaged asking how she was from time to time or she was eating properly. But with her mother she had only spoken once. It was the time she called to inform her family she had passed the first 3 tests. But when her mother answered the phone, after she had waited for quite a while for the call to be picked up, the latter told her to take care of herself, and quickly mentioned she did not have the time to talk at that moment, but she assured her she would call her back later. She waited for the call that never came, so they did not know of her progress. She also tried later to call her sister, but Brianna did not respond to her calls at all. She sighed, as she figured her sister was still angry at her for leaving so abruptly, so she gave up trying to call and only left a message for her, telling her to take care of herself and, even though she was not one to talk of her feelings. She also told her younger sister she loved her very much. The last Monday finally came. She was a bit nervous, but still felt she was as ready as she would ever be for the final test. She had used the rest of the weeks, other than Mondays on which the tests were held, for training. She herself trained since young, but she always did so covertly, and only in her scarce free time. But now she could do it freely and even use all of her time for it. Jake also trained with her, and, as he had professional training, it helped her further. The 100 people gathered in the massive amphitheater, located in the heart of the academy. They had become quite close to each other in the last month, but now everyone was wary of the other. On this day, out of the 100 still remaining candidates, only 10 would get to be admitted for the Watcher course, and everyone wanted to be in those 10 places. A fierce battle was sure to take place. Chapter 8. The Alpha of the New Watchers. Lady and gentlemen, congratulations for passing the previous tests. You are truly the elite of the elite. Unfortunately, as you already know, we only have 10 available positions for Watchers this year, so to decide the final candidates, the last test will be a melee war between all of you. The purpose of this fight is quite simple, and that is, the last 10 people to remain inside the circle you are now standing in will become the new Watcher candidates that we will train for the next 2 years. After undergoing the course and final exam, those 10 people will become full Watchers. Please note that each valedictorian group will act as a pack during the courses, and will remain one even after these 2 years. That means that you will become an official pack after you graduate. You will investigate cases together. You will work together, undertake missions together under the command of the one with the most victories in the melee war, your Alpha. That being said, there are no rules on how you can make the other candidates exit the circle. But do keep in mind that Watchers are the most fair of people. They are the people who best respect others, and would use killing only as a final mean. As such, I expect to see fair play from all of you. Good luck and begin. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nelben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, who seemed to be in charge of the final test, loudly and sternly informed the candidates. There were at least 10 teachers surrounding the circle on all sides. It seemed like they were there to arbitrate the war. Every candidate already knew what the test would be about, so when the teacher said to begin, almost everyone started to select an opponent. Stay near me, Jake whispered to Celia. Just as the fight began, he knew she was a pretty good fighter. Everything he taught her these weeks she absorbed like a sponge, as she had a pretty good foundation to begin with. And he also knew she was quite powerful, but he still wished to protect her and ensure she passed. She nodded and stayed near him. It was not a bad deal to fight in pairs. Some of the other werewolves were doing the same thing as well. They fought together with the werewolves they befriended in their time here. Jake fought with ease at first, as he was one of the best ranked of the candidates, but it did not mean she let him shoulder all the fight on his own. She intervened from time to time when she felt he was outnumbered, and she also covered his back. But even though the fighting went smoothly in the beginning, as he managed to defeat all those who came near, slowly his opponents multiplied. Perhaps they targeted him as the number of people in the circle diminished, knowing he was also trying to protect her. But this actually only made her feel more upset and angry. She was not a weakness. She had only fought cautiously, as it was the first time she fought with others. Not to mention she was also suppressing most of her aura and strength, still maintaining their winning streak even with the multitude of opponents. While Celia was looking out for someone who was about to hit Jake from behind, another candidate did manage to catch her off guard. The burly man was about to grab her and throw her out of the circle. Fortunately, Jake saw him and reacted barely in time to push her out of the way, but to do so he let himself become vulnerable, making it easy for another werewolf to come from behind and hit the back of his head hard. With him being unconscious, the opponent quickly grabbed him by the neck and tried to fling him out of the circle. At this point, Celia's anger had reached its limit. It was like the others did not even feel she was a threat on her own. Without his assistance, satisfied there would be an opponent less in the circle. The werewolf smirked as he ruthlessly flung Jake's body, expecting him to land outside of the circle. He was even chuckling as the number of opponents that were personally thrown out by him increased, and with it the probability to become the alpha also became a reality. Jake was the 10th opponent he threw out. The werewolf turned around, not even looking to confirm that Jake did indeed exit the circle. He was certain that he would, so he was already looking for the next opponent when a loud bam sound was heard. It was not like the sound of someone landing. It was more like the sound of someone smashing in another person. This sound, coupled with the faces of the other opponents that were looking surprised behind him, made him also take a look, only to find Jake still inside the circle. In the last moment, using a bit more of her real strength, Celia moved with frightening speed, stepping in front of the border, waiting to catch his body before it made it across the line. She huffed as she caught him, and she was about to fly with Jake out of the circle as well, as she was not used to the strength she exuded, and was also a little unbalanced by the blow. But in that moment, Waning took over with Crescent trying to minimize her, or so not all of it would leak out. The first strength wolf easily stabilized her position and stopped her from flying out. As she stood firm on her feet, she laid Jake's body on the ground near the border, but not outside of the circle. She checked her surroundings, counting the candidates. There were only 30 left. Waning smirked with her black eyes sparkling. There were not enough opponents left for a proper and decent workout. It was the first time she was out in ages, and she only had to deal with only that many werewolves. The other candidates felt the sudden change in the air, and the pressure released by a high-ranking wolf. All of those left inside the circle were third-rank werewolves, with sub-ranks ranging from 1 to 8. But somehow they were trying to maintain themselves from submitting to her aura and concentrate on their fights. Even the teachers watching from outside looked a bit more intently at Celia, as everyone knew of the only female candidate. Indeed, she had stood out not only for being female, but for the fact that she was one of the finalists. Waning did not seem to sense these gazes of confusion from those around. It only looked at her opponents one by one. She could feel their power and the extent they could grow in the future, while she was already making the selection for her future pack in her mind. The werewolf that had thrown Jake, overcoming his surprised state, wanted to run towards her and push them both out. It was the perfect opportunity as Jake and Celia were barely still inside the circle. But he did not manage to take to 3 steps, when his arm was strongly grabbed. The force of the pull was so powerful, like he had hit a concrete wall. Trying to look at the person who grabbed him, he only saw it after an inch, before finding himself on the floor outside of the circle, looking up battered like he had never been in his life. Considering his alpha lineage, he saw that in the former place he had been, Celia was now standing. After dealing first with the cowardly werewolf who hit Jake from behind, Waning avoided the most powerful ones she had identified first. The other remaining ones, with frightening speed, she threw them out of the circle one by one, either by grabbing their hand, foot, neck, anything she could grab onto. 3 minutes later, the melee war was finished, with the ones outside the circle not realizing how they got there. Inside the circle, only 10 people remained, with 8 standing stunned and 1 still unconscious, not knowing why their opponents disappeared from in front of them and were actually outside the circle on the ground. One might say she defeated the werewolves easily, if they looked at it from the outside, but to catch so many third-ranked alphas off guard, even if they were busy fighting, and to also throw them like crags, was something difficult even for experienced watchers. "The melee war is finished," answered the teacher, stuttering, not believing his eyes. Even he would be inclined to believe that her opponents were easily defeated looking at her fights, if he did not know their actual strength. Winner of the 200th Watcher Accept and Destined Alpha of the new group, Miss C. Blair. At the same time, in the new moon Pac-Ma, I am not so sure about this dress. I don't think it fits for the lunar ceremony. Maybe I should actually buy one, Brianna said, pouting, while checking the dress in front of her. Her sister had made it for herself some time ago, but she felt it was not elegant enough. Whether you like it or not, it is the only white dress your sister made, other than the dress for the ball, and you cannot wear that again. What will people think of us if you wear the same dress? I already made it clear to you that you have to wear one of the dresses your sister made for you or for herself. You cannot wear anything else. Why are you being stubborn now? Do you want to be the Luna?" Her mother huffed, irritated. Brianna was the one who made her help, and now she was the one who had to explain to her daughter what she had to do. "You were the one who convinced me that Rayan was the best choice, even though I said to wait some more. Now why are you making a fuss?" her mother asked with a sharp tone. Brianna was still pouting, even though her mother had tried to reason with her. "Just wait until you are marked. Then you can wear whatever you want. If not, then wear a new dress and let us see if you will still become the Luna," her mother finally warned. If this did not convince Brianna, then she did not know what would. Fine, I will wear it," finally replied Brianna through gritted teeth, while forcefully changing her clothes to get the dress fitted on her. She was getting tired of these dull clothes. Just until Sunday, she kept repeating inside her mind. At the academy, Saturday afternoon, Alpha, let's get lunch. The other guys are waiting at the table already, Jack exclaimed merrily, knocking on Sihir's door. She opened the door as quickly as she could and came outside. When she heard his voice, "Sorry, I was making my back. I finally finished. I won't have any more time to do it after lunch," she apologized, sighing. She was still not used to it. The 9 guys that made up our pack had called her Alpha this whole week, and she wished they would stop. But the teachers had told them that they should use her official title, for them to get used to the hierarchy, so there was no other way around it. Other than being called Alpha, which made her a bit awkward, she grew more comfortable with the other guys as well. Before, she only stayed most of the time with Jake. Now, to build the bonds of the pack, she spent her time with all of them. "Do you have to stay for the whole 2 months at home until the courses begin? You should just greet your family, tell them the result and come back. We have to prepare for the beginning of the courses." Jake tried to reason with her. She smiled a little, shrugging her head. There was nothing to learn until the classes started. She realized he did not want her to go back home. He was also not leaving because he did not want to go home. His mom kept pestering him about finding his mate, so he chose to stay here for the rest of the summer. Seeing he could not change her mind, he sighed, walking beside her in the hallway. Looks like it would be boring without her in the academy. For the next 2 months,